Okay, students, the topic of federalism. I'm sure you all have been quite aware about till now, or you might have heard about the word called as federalism. But to be very clear and to be very precise, what exactly does federalism mean? We need to go into the details of the chapter. But before going into the details of the chapter, just let me get back to you with the understanding of the brief part. What exactly is this topic about? Okay, to say for the word federalism, it is nothing but a word which is being derived from the word called as federal, What does the word federal mean? Federal mean two-way. Federal means two-way. Two-way what? Two-way government. Government for what? Which is for the people, by the people, and to the people. So it is a democratic form of government, but it is the government itself which runs in two parallel ways. One is called over here as a prime government, and the other are called as subordinate governments. So over here, federalism is a systematic understanding, a systematic running of the government, which is for the benefit of the citizens in two ways. What is called as a prime, and the second is subordinate. Prime government is the government which rules at the center, called as the central government, and this central government appoints its various heads for small provinces of that particular country or of that particular region, called as state governments. To be very clear about it, this is what is an understanding of federalism in an historical platform. Is that clear, everybody? So what is a federalism? I am getting back to this again. A federal, that is a two-way form of government which is for the people, by the people, and to the people. Okay, wherein two governments run parallel to each other, wherein one is at the prime, called as a prime government. To be very clear, in the modern sense we call it as a central government, and under that prime government there are subordinate governments for the various provinces of that state, called as state governments in the modern sense. So these two governments run parallel for the overall running of the structure of federalistic nature of the government of India. To be very clear, from an Indian perspective. In the world today as well, same thing are being followed, okay, because it is believed that federalism is a system of not government, but a system of the mannerisms of running of the government. Clear, everybody? I am repeating this thing again. Federalism is a system. Federalism is a system of running of democratic government. Clear, everybody? Federalism is a system of running of democratic government. It is not a type of government. It is a system which runs. A democratic government. Clear, everybody? This is called as federalism. That's number second. Now we will make sure that before going with the details of the chapter, let's go for the overview. In the previous chapter, पहला chapter हमने कौन सा किया है? Previous chapter. The previous chapter over here is power sharing. The previous chapter is power sharing. We noted that vertical division of power among different levels of government is one of the major forms of power sharing in modern democracies, which form vertical division of power. Okay, vertical divisions of power. What are these? What are those? Please pay attention. Right from central government, we have studied this diagram as well. One is the central government. Okay, so we have seen over here vertical divisions of power sharing. Students, this was the first point of our topic, that is of power sharing. What did it have? Vertical division. Vertical matlab one below the other, which is also called as hierarchical divisions of power sharing. सबसे पहले आती थी आपकी central government, then we have our state governments, then we have district, that is your local district government bodies, then we have municipal corporations, then we have Zilla Parishad, then there are Gram Panchayats, then there are Nagar Palikas or Nagar Panchayats. So this is how the government functions in a vertical manner. They function in which manner, my dear friends? They function in vertical manner. So this is how the power sharing has been divided. In this chapter, we focus on what? In this chapter, we focus on this form of power share. It is most commonly referred to as federalism. We begin by describing federalism in general terms. The rest of the chapter tries to understand the theory and practice of federalism in India. A discussion of the federal constitutional provision is followed by an analysis of the policies and politics that have strengthened federalism in practice. Towards the end of the chapter, we turn to the local government, a new and third tier of Indian federalism. Now, before we go into the details, what is federalism? There is one point which I would personally like to highlight, my dear friends. Please understand. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between the central authority and various constituent units of the country. Now for example, if this is our India, this is an example. Over here in Delhi, there is a central government which is sitting. Now for this central government, the power of this central government is divided in various constitutional unit or constituent units. Which are the constituent units for India? Are various states are the constituent units. So let's say there is Maharashtra, there is Gujarat, there is Madhya Pradesh, there is Karnataka, there is Andhra Pradesh. So these are the various political units or constitutional units in which the power of central government is being divided and has been categorized. Clear, everybody? So, coming back. Let us get back to the contrast between Belgium and Sri Lanka. You would recall that one of the key changes made in the constitution of Belgium was to reduce the power of the central government and to give the power to the regional governments. इसलिए Belgium में हमने clearly देखा है, the northern part of the Belgium is purely the people which speak Dutch as the language, called as Dutch speaking people, and the southern part of the country is where the people speak French language, and that's why it's where people speak French language. Clear, everybody? And a portion of Belgium, there is one person which speak German language. So Belgium constitution ने क्या किया? Belgium constitution ने central government के powers को निकाल दिया and they shifted the powers exactly to the Dutch and the French and the German government as per the languages which are being spoken. Okay, regional governments existed in Belgium even earlier. They had their roles and power, but all these powers were given to these governments and could be withdrawn by the central government. The change that took place in 93 was that the regional governments were given constitutional powers. So, the Dutch were given the constitutional power, French were given the constitutional power, German were given the constitutional power. These were the regional governments, French-speaking population, Dutch-speaking population and German-speaking population. Is that clear, everybody? Yes. The change that took place in 93 was that the regional governments were given constitutional powers that were no longer dependent on the central governments. Thus, Belgium shifted from unitary to a federal form of government. Please, it is very important to understand, mark it. Unitary to a federal form. What is the meaning of unitary? Unitary का मतलब है single party oriented government or single government running for an entire country. But what is federal? Federal government का मतलब है two governments which run parallel are called as federal government. So Belgium, which was initially central and state, shifted their focus from this to the other. Clear, everybody? To the unitary form of government. Sri Lanka continues to be for all practical purposes unitary system where the national government has the power. Tamil leaders want Sri Lanka to become a federal system. Usually a federation has two levels of government. This is what I have been noting. A federation has two levels of government. One is the central government and the other is the state governments. Okay. One is the government for the entire country that is usually responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. The others are governments at the level of provinces or states that look after much of the day-to-day administering of their state. Both these levels of governments enjoy their power independent on the other. Now, in the map given below, they have stated federal political system. So, this thing marks the federal political system. There is Canada, there is USA, okay. then there is Brazil. At the same time, India, our own motherland, India, is a federal system wherein a central government and various constitutional heads, state governments, run two governments which are in parallel. In this sense, federations are contrasted with unitary governments under the unitary system. Either there is only one level of government or the subunits are subordinate to the central government. The central government can pass on orders to the provincial or the local governments, but in federal government, central government cannot order state government. State government has their own powers. Okay, I am marking this, please understand. In unitary system of governments, either there is only one government or sub units are subordinate to the central government. The central government can pass orders to provincial or local governments. मतलब जिस देश में सिर्फ एक ही गवर्नमेंट काम करती है, मैंने ये नहीं कहा एक ही पार्टी, what did I say? Just one government which works for an entire country. That one government has the complete hold over the entire nation. So whatever that one government says, it is going to be applicable and usable for an entire state, which states which are there under that one government of that entire country. Clear? But in federal system, what happens? There is a central government and there is a state government. But state government cannot every time go to central government, and central government cannot order every time to the state government regarding the policies to be framed and practices to be followed. A central government has an absolute right to kindly note the mistakes of state government, but it cannot direct the state government, because state government has their own powers within their own vicinity and within their own state, but they have their own powers. Dismantling or not understanding the state government in their own forms can be considered as a disrespect to the state governments. Clear, everybody? Yes, let's go further. Both these governments are separately answerable to the people. Let us look at some of the key features. Now, what are the key features? The key features of federalism consign. Number one key feature of federalism is there are two or more levels or tiers of government. Different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation and administration. The jurisdictions of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the Constitution. The jurisdictions of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the Constitution. So the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. The fundamental provisions of the Constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. Such change requires the consent of both the levels of government. Courts have the power to interpret the Constitution, the powers of the different levels of government. So, यहाँ पे wherein there is federal form, the three pillars of the democracy, that is the legislative, the executive and the judiciary, play the vital role. Sources of revenue of each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. Okay. The federal system thus has a dual objective: to safeguard and promote unity of the country, while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. Okay. Yes. Therefore, two aspects are crucial for the institutions and practice of federalism. Governments at different levels should agree to some rules of power sharing. They should also trust that each would abide by its part of the agreement. An ideal federal system has both aspects: mutual trust and agreements to live together. So क्या दिया यहाँ पे? A federal government is a government which runs absolutely parallel to the country between the center and the state. But at the end of the day, both governments work hand in hand for the development and benefit of the citizens. Did you understand this, everybody? Both governments, federal as well as state governments, work hand in hand for the benefit and betterment of the citizens. The exact balance of power between central and state government varies from one federation to another. The exact balance of power between central and state government varies from one federation to another. This balance depends mainly on the historical context in which the federation was formed. There are two kinds of routes through which federations have been formed. The first route involves independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity they can increase their security. This type of coming together of federations is followed in USA, Switzerland and Australia. Okay, there are two kinds of routes through which federations have been formed. The first route involves independent states coming together to form one bigger unit. अगर हमारे देश में जैसे ऑल स्टेट्स 28 स्टेट्स जो है इंडिया के 29 स्टेट्स, अगर ये सब एक आते हैं, दे फॉर्म वन यूनिट कि हमारे ऊपर एक ही गवर्नमेंट और एक यूनिट बन के राज करने वाली है. जैसे यूएसए में फॉलो किया जाता है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में फॉलो किया जाता है, स्विट्जरलैंड में फॉलो किया जाता है. So this would have been called as a unitary system of government coming together of federations. Clear everybody? Okay. The second route is where a large country decides to divide its power between the constituent states and national government. India, Spain and Belgium are examples of this kind of holding together federations. इसमें क्या है, हर एक स्टेट की खुद की एक स्पेसिफाइड पावर्स है, ड्यूटीज हैं और राइट्स एंड लिमिटेशंस हैं. But they are extant and limited to only their state. But all the states who have such different divided powers and equal powers between themselves, they don't come together, but they are separate in their own existence. But end of the day, they are accountable to the central government. जैसे इंडिया में फॉलो किया जाता है. Clear everybody? Yes. Very often this has been considered true. Now, what makes India a federal country? हमारे देश को फेडरल कंट्री कैसे किया गया है, या हमारे देश को फेडरल कंट्री बोल के कैसे नापा गया है? We have earlier seen how small countries like Belgium and Sri Lanka face so many problems of managing diversity. What about a vast country like India with so many languages, religions and regions? What are the power sharing arrangements in our country? Let us begin with the constitution. India had emerged as an independent nation after a painful and bloody partition. Soon after independence, several princely states became a part of the country. The constitution declared India as a union of states. Union of states matlab all states coming together, not as a government, but all states coming together under one common head, and that one common head is our India. That is why it is called as a union of states, called as unification of states. Although I did not use the word federation, the Indian Union is based on the principles of federalism. The Indian Union is based on what? It is based on the principles of federalism. Let us go back to the 7 features of federalism mentioned above. We can see that all these features apply to the provisions of the Indian Constitution. The Constitution originally provided for the two-tier system of government, union government or what we call central government, number 1, which represents the Union of India, and the state governments represents, which is called as the state governments के लिए applicable है. Later, a third tier of federalism was added in the form of panchayats and municipalities. Federalism में third part भी आता है, called as panchayats and municipalities. एक simple diagram दिखाता हूँ. You will clearly understand central government, state government and municipality, how it is being categorized. Okay, let's get back to understanding of this. Okay, for example, this is India. Okay, for example, this is India. There is one central government. Okay, there is one central government which is the topmost part, sitting in Delhi. Okay, every state has their own स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स. ठीक है, लेकिन हर एक स्टेट में खुद के अपने सिटी के, एवरी स्टेट हैज गॉट सिटीज, एवरी सिटी हैज अ गवर्नमेंट एंड एवरी सिटी आल्सो हैज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज स्मॉल तालुकास एंड विलेजेस एंड इट. उनके लिए है पंचायत्स एंड म्युनिसिपैलिटीज, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ग्राम पंचायत्स एंड म्युनिसिपैलिटीज. ग्राम पंचायत एंड म्युनिसिपैलिटीज, दिस ऑल्सो फॉर्म्स अ पार्ट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. तो जाहिर सी बात है, यू कैन से ऑन अ ग्लोबल सेंस यू कैन से दिस दैट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इज फॉर एन एंटायर कंट्री, पूरे देश के लिए है. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट इज लिमिटेड टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ इट्स स्टेट्स and every city, every taluka, every district would have its own government called as gram panchayats or municipalities. So in all, 3-tier system of government runs parallel in India. But end of the day, each one is accountable to each other. Yes or no? The answer is no. Central government is the hovering body over everybody. It does not control, but it checks in and solves queries and problems of all the governments which come under it. That is the state government and the panchayats and the municipalities. Is that fine, everybody? Okay. Now, the constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative powers between the union government and the state government. Thus, it contains 3 lists. Union list, okay, which includes subject or of national importance as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking, communication. एक important part है. The constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative powers between union government and state government. मतलब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने क्या किया है, हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में स्ट्रेट अभी प्रोविजन बनाई गई है कि कौन से ऐसे मैटर्स है या सब्जेक्ट्स है विच सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल डील विद कॉल्ड एज अ यूनियन गवर्नमेंट, कौन से ऐसे मैटर्स है विच विल बी डेल्ट बाय द स्टेट एंड द अदर गवर्नमेंट्स. क्लियर एवरीबॉडी? जो मैटर्स यूनियन गवर्नमेंट डील करता है वो कौन से लिस्ट में आते हैं? दोस कम अंडर द लिस्ट ऑफ यूनियन लिस्ट. द मैटर्स विच आर डेल्ट बाय द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट कम अंडर द स्टेट लिस्ट. And the matters which are neither in the union nor in the state, which are miscellaneous, are coming under the list called as the concurrent list. Clear everybody? So what are those matters? जो subjects या जो issues union government के list के अंदर आते हैं, those are defense, banking, foreign affairs, communications and currency. They include only of union nature. स्टेट लिस्ट में आते हैं स्टेट एंड लोकल इंपॉर्टेंस जस्ट पुलिस, ट्रेड, कॉमर्स, एग्रीकल्चर एंड इरिगेशन. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स अलोन कैन मेक लॉज रिलेटिंग टू द सब्जेक्ट मेंशन फॉर दैट स्पेसिफिक स्टेट. और कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट में आते हैं एजुकेशन, फॉरेस्ट, ट्रेड यूनियंस, मैरिज, अडॉप्शन एंड सक्सेशन. सो wherein neither the union nor the state list can deal with such problems, those come under the concurrent list. End of the day, concurrent list is also being looked after by the union government only. Clear everybody? Yes. अभी क्वेश्चन ऐसा है कि अगर कोई सब्जेक्ट या कोई इशू स्टेट लिस्ट में भी नहीं आता है, यूनियन लिस्ट में भी नहीं आता है और कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट में भी नहीं आता है, तो कौन सा लिस्ट में आएगा? और सब्जेक्ट्स लाइक कंप्यूटर सॉफ्टवेयर that is made upon according to the constitution, the union government has the power to legislate on these residuary subjects. मतलब जो left over है, जो wasted subjects है, those are not being looked after by any of the 3 lists above. Those are being legislated. मतलब laws are being made or policies are being made for that specific subject under which list? Under the residuary list. Clear everybody? Okay, we noted above that the most federations that are formed by holding together do not give equal power to its constituent units. All states in the Indian Union do not have identical powers. Some states enjoy a special status. Jammu and Kashmir has its own constitution. Many provisions of the Indian constitution are not applicable to this state without the approval of state assemblies. Indians who are not permanent residents of these states cannot buy land or house here. Similar special provision exists for some other states of India as well. Thus, all states in Indian Union do not have identical powers. Some states enjoy special status. Jammu and Kashmir has its own constitution. So, ऐसे कुछ states हैं, okay, which do not enjoy normal union status as of other states, but they enjoy special status. So, this year 2019 के अगस्त में the central government under Article 370 जम्मू एंड कश्मीर को जो स्पेशल स्टेटस दिया गया था वो निकाल दिया एंड दे बॉट जम्मू एंड कश्मीर एज अ पार्ट ऑफ टोटल यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट्स इन इंडिया. क्लियर एवरीबॉडी? यस. नेक्स्ट वन. There are some units of the Indian Union which enjoy very little power. There are areas like कौन से ऐसे हैं जो छोटी पावर एंजॉय करते हैं but they have very minutest power but they have that power. Which are those states? Are union territories. Chandigarh, Lakshadweep or the capital city of Delhi are called union territories. These territories do not have the powers of the state. Central government has special powers in running in these areas. This sharing of power between union government and the state government is basic to the structure of the constitution. It is not easy to make changes to this power sharing arrangement. The parliament cannot on its own change this arrangement. Any change to it has to be first passed by both the houses of parliament with at least 2/3 majority. then it has to be ratified by the legislatures of at least of the total states. So don't go with the details of this, it will be very confusing, but just understand a central government will have power to make amendments in state list and any subjects to be dealt in state list, state government को state list में है, other matters in concurrent list. जो तीनों list में नहीं आते, those are being dealt by the central government in residuary list. Similarly, वैसे ही कुछ states in India में which enjoy special status, Jammu and Kashmir, which do not follow Indian laws but there are separate laws for it, but still geographically and territorially are a part of India. 2019 August में central government took away the special status of this state Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 and brought it back into the normal union of states in India. There are also some union territories which are governed neither by the state laws nor by the central government laws actually, but those are governed by state central government special provisions and special laws. Those are called as union territories. जैसे हमने देखा है लक्षद्वीप, पौंडीचेरी या even our islands of Andaman and Nicobar. These are the union territories dealt in that manner. Okay, now coming back to it. The judiciary plays an important role in overseeing the implementation of constitutional provisions and procedures. ये हमने पहले भी देखा है. We have seen this very clearly. Legislative जो है वो laws बनाते हैं. Judiciary जो है वो laws को लोगों तक लाने का काम करता. Executive जो है वो laws को लोगों तक लाते हैं. And judiciary is the one who protects the laws. So it is important to understand this thing very well. In case of any dispute about the division of power, the High Court and Supreme Court makes a decision. The union and state governments have the power to raise resources by levying taxes in order to carry on the government and the responsibilities assigned to each other. Okay, let's go further. Now, these are the small questions which we will discuss later on. Let's go with the main understanding of this. Okay, India in 1947 में India formed a part, rather many princely states formed a part of India as well. जैसे हमारे हैदराबाद है, okay, Hyderabad was a princely state, Goa was a princely state being dominated by the Portuguese. Similarly, the places like our union territories, which is Lakshadweep Islands, they also formed a part of union territories, which was initially a special status being given. Okay, this was also a union territory being ruled by the French and the Dutch people. But eventually, at the same time, Junagadh, which is a part of Gujarat, was being dealt as a princely state. Jammu and Kashmir was obviously being dealt by Raja Hari Singh of Kashmir. So all these princely states were individual in their own perspective, लेकिन geographical limit में India में आते थे. After 1947, these princely states were given an option whether you want to stay alone, they were given an option. Either mutually India में आ जाओ as a part of state in India and enjoy all the rights being given by the Union of States, by the government of India, or be ready to fight the war. Simple. Because these states were being ruled by the kings, and at that time the kingship and the authorship was to be removed because we had adopted a democratic form of government. हमने कौन सी government adopt की थी बच्चों? We had adopted a democratic form of government. Clear everyone? And this is why these were being dealt by the central government and all formed a part of India as a union of states. Clear everybody? Yes. Okay, now how is federalism practiced? Constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism, but these are not sufficient. If the federalist experiment has succeeded in India, it is not merely because of the clearly laid out constitutional provisions. The real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic policies in our country. This ensured that the spirit of federalism, respect for diversity and desire for living together became a shared ideal in our country. Let us look at some of the major ways in which this happened. Okay, now this is the next part, altogether a different part of the topic. So we will take this in a separate form. Just understand this thing very well. क्या दिया है उन्होंने? Federalism practice कैसे किया जाता है? How do we practice federalism? It's not simple कि एक state laws बनाए, एक governmental laws, central government laws बनाए, and we work together in parallel. This is not federalism. Exactly to run. But though the meaning is this, but how we are going to categorize it out, okay, to be practiced as federalism. Linguistic states. The creation of linguistic states was the first and the major test for democratic politics in a country. If you look at the political map of India, when it began in joining 47 and then of 2006, you will be surprised by the extent of the changes. Many old states have vanished and many new states have come to the power. Okay. In 47, the boundaries of several old states of India were changed in order to create new states. This was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in the same states. Some states were created not on the basis of language but to recognize differences based on culture, ethnicity or geography. These include states like Nagaland, Uttarakhand and Jharkhand. Now over here you have political map of India 2006 and over you have India 1947. Do we see lot many changes? We definitely see lot many changes, and this was because जो boundaries उस वक्त थी धीरे धीरे this was all politically being shifted. Government interfered, government decided a decisive plan for it, and this is how India what we see today is an absolutely different than what India was between 1947 to 2006. The changes took place, और आज की तारीख में in 2020 India is absolutely different, and today we are happy to say Kashmir no more enjoy the special status. It is a union territory, a forming part of central government laws, states and policies being denounced and demarcated by the central government. Clear everybody? Yes. Now, basis of linguistic states, हमारे यहाँ पे तो कितना होना चाहिए था? अगर if we consider Sri Lanka and if we consider Belgium, okay, तो India should have been constantly fighting because we are a total of 29 states. और हर एक राज्य का अगर दूसरे के साथ झगड़ा होता था ऑन द बेस ऑफ लैंग्वेज, दिस वुड हैव बीन नेवर अ यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट्स, वी वुड हैव ऑलवेज बीन अ डिसइंटीग्रेटेड वर्ल्ड. But fortunately, our leaders did not let this happen. Though there are reservations and casteism, that's one part. But this did not anywhere try and hamper our union of states status being given to India. In 47, the boundaries were changed, and on the basis of geography and language, this was being categorized. When the demand for the formation of states on the basis of language was raised, some national leaders feared that it would lead to the disintegration of the country. So, accordingly, on the basis of this, ऐसा हुआ था, ठीक है? इंडिया में भी ऐसा हुआ था that every state with their own language, okay, on the basis of their language, started demanding for a special right or a disintegrated state being given to it. हम separate है. महाराष्ट्र अलग, गुजरात अलग, ऐसा सोच रहे थे, but the national leaders were wise enough. They felt if this happens, this will lead to the integration of the nation. This will lead to the disintegration of the nation, and this will divide the nation on the barriers of religion, race, language, which they did not let happen. And fortunately, we are still a union of India being governed by 29 different states living under one common head called as secular India. Now, language policy. Second test for Indian Federation is the language policy. Our constitution did not give the status of national language to any one language. Hindi was identified as the official language, but Hindi is the mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians. Therefore, there are many safeguards to protect other languages. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages for the constitution. A candidate in an examination conducted for the central government positions may opt to take the examination in any of these languages. States too have their own official languages. ठीक है? Even language policy की थी because no language is inferior, no language is superior. So to divide and equally categorize all languages, government ने क्या किया था? Government ने straight away हर एक लैंग्वेज को अपनी अपनी इंडिविजुअल स्पेशल स्टेटस दिया, और इसमें गवर्नमेंट ने क्लियर कट ये किया है कि जो भी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट द्वारा कंडक्ट किए जाने एग्जाम्स हैं, ओके, एनी एग्जामिनेशंस कंडक्टेड बाय सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल बी इन ऑल लैंग्वेजेस. तो पूरे 29 लैंग्वेजेस में आप अगर लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर राइटिंग एन एग्जाम इन केरला, तो आपके लिए केरला लैंग्वेज भी इधर यूटिलाइज की जा सकती है, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लैंग्वेज इंग्लिश एंड द नेशनल लैंग्वेज हिंदी. Clear everybody? If you are, let's say for example, you are from West Bengal, तो आपको बंगाली लैंग्वेज में पेपर लिख सकते हो आप लोग. This has been categorized and clearly being stated by the central government under its policy of language policy. Clear everybody? Yes. Much of the government works take place in the official language of the concerned state. ठीक है, मतलब स्टेट में है तो वो अपनी स्टेट की खुद की लैंग्वेज में ही बात करते हैं. Other languages have their own characteristics. Unlike Sri Lanka, the leaders of our country adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading the use of word Hindi. According to the constitution, use of English for official purposes was to stop in 65. However, many non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English continue. In Tamil Nadu, this movement took a violent form. The central government responded by agreeing to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purposes. So, हमारी हिंदी जो है वो obviously it's one of our it's a national language, but English is used as an administrative language. ठीक है? So, I am making it very clear over here. Hindi is our national language, whereas English is our administrative language used for all official purposes. Okay, next ones now. Hindi continues to be the official policy of the government of India. Promotion does not mean the central government can impose Hindi on states where people speak a different language. Flexibility shown by Indian political leaders helped our country avoid the kind of situation that Sri Lanka finds itself in. Zahir si baat hai. Though Hindi is a national language, but it is not forced upon. We have accepted it, but yet every state has their own right to conduct and mannerly follow the language of their own state. जैसे हमारे यहाँ पे असेंबली जब इलेक्शंस होते हैं तो इट इज अ जनरल नॉर्म बीइंग फॉलोड. जो स्टेट के असेंबली इलेक्शंस है, द ओथ सेरेमनी विल बी इन दैट स्पेसिफिक लैंग्वेज ऑफ दैट स्टेट. बंगाल में है तो बंगाल लैंग्वेज में ही ओथ सेरेमनी होती है. महाराष्ट्र है तो मराठी में ही ओथ सेरेमनी होने वाली है. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज लैंग्वेज पॉलिसीज बीइंग अपॉइंटेड. दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है सेंटर और स्टेट में रिलेशंस कैसे होने चाहिए. जाहिर सी बात है, अगर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के अंडर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स directly नहीं आता है, but somewhere or the other state government always seeks help from central government, and state government always makes sure to provide all the possible help in terms of assistance to central government for a bigger international platform for development and growth of the country. ठीक है, तो जाहिर सी बात है सेंटर और स्टेट में रिलेशंस कैसे होने चाहिए. सेंटर एंड स्टेट शुड ऑलवेज हैव म्यूचुअल रिलेशंस. Okay, restructuring the center-state relations is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. How the constitutional arrangements for sharing power work in reality depends on large extent on how the ruling parties and leaders follow these arrangements. Okay, so this is how things work. Okay, next ones now. This meant that the state governments did not exercise their rights as autonomous federal units. As and when the ruling party of the state level was different, the parties that ruled the center tried to undermine the power of the states. In those days, the central government would often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state governments that were controlled by rival parties. This undermined the spirit of federalism. All this changed significantly after 1990. This period saw the rise of regional political parties in many states of the country. This was also the beginning of the era of coalition governments at the center. Since no single party got a clear majority in the Lok Sabha, the major national parties had to enter into an alliance with many parties, including regional parties, to form a government at the center. Okay, now what is the meaning over here? Coalition government. This was also the beginning of an era of coalition governments. Every political party felt the need to have better prospects and better understandings of their own. ठीक है? But it did not adhere to what? You cannot boast what you feel in a country like India where there is secularism. जहाँ पे everybody is given an equal status. Concept status दिया गया है, equal status दिया गया है. ठीक है? So they followed one big thing, that is unity. Okay, unity of power, unity of process, unity of equality, everything. And this itself meant that every government, though they are at the center or state, but kabhi na kabhi they will come under the sphere of coalition. Matlab they will need help of other parties to form one single largest government called as central government or maybe for the state. तो इसीलिए उन्होंने क्या किया? They stopped this and they followed all the policies of the central government on an equanimity मतलब on an equal basis. Okay, yes. Now there is something which talks about the state plead for more powers, the state plead for more powers, and the perils of running a coalition government. Okay, we shall see this in the next part of the video. Okay, everybody.